I'll skip the introduction part since we've already done that, but I wanted to say a couple of things about solution consultants at Asana because I think not everyone knows what we're actually doing. So what I do on a daily basis, I support customers such as Alex by understanding their processes, their workflows, their challenges, and trying to find a solution within Asana to make those processes even better, especially with using AI. So it's not about just adding another tool to your tech stack. It's about actually using everything that you already have content-wise in Asana and bringing the business value out of it. And speaking of business value, I want to say thank you again to Alex for being here. And maybe we can kick things off by letting him tell us a bit about what the Viessman Generations Group is doing and also what his role is at the organization.
Yeah, thank you, Naida, and welcome all to our session today. My name is Alex. I'm working for Viessman Generations Group, which is one of the largest family offices in Germany. My role is being the CIO of that company, driving digital transformation across our portfolio. We are actually investing into several kinds of businesses that range from real assets like forestries and agriculture things up to investments into portfolio companies that do manufacturing. From the size, we are above 5,500, 6,000 employees already. We started in 2023 because we sold the main business of the family in advance, and we now drive value creation with Asana across the whole portfolio.
And I wanted to come back to the topic of value creation and actually start the presentation with some stats. So at Asana, we are doing extensive research when it comes to AI adoption because we want to understand how people use AI and why they not use AI, for example. So in the French and German markets, we have actually found that the AI adoption has risen from 56% to 67% in the past year. And what does that number mean? It actually means that workers who collaborate more often with AI also are more likely to report productivity gains. So it's not just about having another tool to use, it's knowing how to use it and to collaborate with it. So we have found that, for example, people who work with AI on a monthly basis, their productivity gains are about 40%. But what if we go into using AI on a weekly basis? That already jumps to 73%. And when we come to using AI every day and collaborating with it every day, this number goes even up to 88%. And the reason for that is that we have found if you really understand the value of AI and where you can contribute with it, it's completely different from just working with it every month. So one more thing that I want to mention when it comes to productivity is that not only is productivity something that is positive about AI, but there's also some aspects where people are skeptical, and we all know that. So we all know that people are scared that AI will replace them in the next couple of years. We also know that some people are even concerned that using AI every day will make them look like a fraud. And this is the reason that we have found that only 18% of companies in Germany and France have scaled AI in their businesses. And in the US, it's already at 29%. So we're seeing quite the difference between the European market and the US market. And especially when it comes to those barriers, like being scared of using AI, being scared of losing your job to AI or not knowing how to use it, I wanted to ask Alex, did you see those barriers when you introduced AI in your company? And what made you actually think about starting to use AI at VGG?
So at least what we have been from the past was driving digital transformation at a really early stage. And what we see is it seems to be like the next phase of like the very big change as we had it in industrialization, then we had digital transformation, now we are in AI transformation. Our view on leveraging AI in corporate business is it's not like a technological project, it's more even, or moreover, we are really investing into people that learn new capabilities and investing into their skills, because we are very convinced that technological change is going to be very quickly adapting to new things, but what stays at least are the skills of the people that are leveraging this technology. So basically we say it's 80% people, it's 20% technology. And when we have looked into AI in our company, so we do have quite a lot of knowledge workers, especially when it comes to the legals, investment managers. They all work with data, and their job is like, and somehow it can be like, how to say, we could replace them in the future, but what we think, we even more think about driving better decisions with AI, being more efficient on the things, and gaining risks from an earlier point of view into our considerations when we acquire companies or other assets. But what we are actually doing with the people is we really get them in the process pretty early, that they understand what's happening all around them, and they are able to adapt their challenges with new technology and not being frightened of like AI is rising more and more and could replace them in the future pretty soon.
So my experience with the companies I work with is usually that there's some very energetic people who really want to work with AI and some that are skeptical. I'm sure all of you are each either one or the other person. And so what I notice is that a lot of companies don't even know where to start when it comes to figuring out what process they're going to translate. How can they use AI for their processes? So what do you think, what is the best way, or do you have a specific way of choosing which processes in your company could be supercharged with AI?
So at least, yes, and I guess we will look into that quite soon. We developed some kind of an opportunity compass, which helps us to understand what are like the biggest opportunities in our company, and it also helps our portfolio companies by leveraging their use cases and getting out the best out of the use case itself. So we set up something on Lovable, which is also an AI tool for prototyping, and we said like, you have to put in some data to get out what is the real return on invest of each of the use cases and what are the things that could at least help you to get it up and running pretty soon. So you see some kind of a sales optimization process over here where we said like, okay, we do an evaluation on the value of the use case, on the effort of the use case, but also we put in some kind of risks, which includes the part of the ethics, reputational risks or data risks, and where data needs to be stored, which all comes into consideration when it gets later like a holistic summary of the use case itself. So you can quantify the benefits, you can quantify the implementation costs and the running costs by a rough number, and at least you get like a result of what does it cost you, what is the benefit over time, what needs to be done, and that's like a one-day effort to build this out with an AI-generated tool, and it incredibly helps us to find out what are the most valuable use cases in our businesses. What I want to add to this, so we do not even look to like the use cases that have like an ROI. We also, when we talk with our portfolio companies, we often get into the discussion of what is like a business-changing AI example in your organization, or what could dramatically change your business model in the future. And we even ask like our portfolio C-level teams, what needs to be done like in the next 2 years that you achieve a dramatic change in your business model. And that's like more the opportunistic way to get into this. But sometimes it helps to really drive those teams forward by showing them what could the horizon look like and how future is going to be presented to them.
So what would be the tip then that you would give someone who's really thinking about trying to use AI? Which processes should they go first?
So basically the easiest way is to implement something like ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, whatever in your organization, and really leverage the crowd of your organization to enable them with like a low effort. So set up like a small governance, set up a small strategy on AI usage, implement it across your organization, because normally it's like kind of free usage, then develop your champion network in your like company. And these are the ones that specifically know what are the use cases, what are the areas and functions in your organization that are really like working with AI, and they will figure out what are the most beneficial use cases to implement with AI. And then you are in a very structured way. You have built out like C-level attention at the very first. You're already enabled the crowd, and you have your champion network. And this is going to start to really work on the topics that really matter. What I think is, when you look to like the teams that need support, you need like cross-functional support in like all of the functions from your organization. It starts from like the legal part, the IT teams, but also the business part, to get them together, that they build out the solutions. And what we have seen is like implementing some kind of AI boards in our portfolio companies work pretty well, that they are streamlining and efficiently like leveraging those AI initiatives across the organizations.
I think that's a very good tip for everyone who doesn't really know where to begin. And one of those processes is one that we're going to show today that we are working on with Viessmann together. So for understanding how that actually works, I want to show you our Asana work graph. So for everyone who's not familiar with Asana, our system is built on a data model that we call a work graph, where we can see that every data point is connected. So from task level to projects to managing multiple projects in a portfolio or even company goals, we are leveraging AI on every level of that work graph. And some of those features that you see on the right side, they're even supported over multiple layers of those work graph. And within that workflow from Viessmann, we're going to see that we're leveraging multiple of those features. For example, we are going to have a look at AI Studio, which is building out smart workflows supported by AI. And we're going to also see how our AI agents work within Asana. So after seeing that, we're going to focus actually on the real use case from Viessmann, which is value creation requests. So before I go into explaining how this will actually look like within Asana, I wanted to ask Alex, tell us a bit about what this value creation process is. When did you decide to move it into Asana? How did it look like before you moved it into Asana?
So at least giving you some more background about what value creation means to us. So we have built up some operational teams that do help our portfolio companies to drive transformation forward. So that can be finance transformation, can be some purchasing initiatives, can be something that is with IT, but it can also be something when it comes to like C-level coachings, whatever. So we are having like people that are supporting our portfolio companies with their experience, with their knowledge, but really bringing in some other capabilities to move our portfolio into the next or on the next level. When it comes to like the value creation requests, you can imagine we do have quite a lot of portfolio companies that love to get help from other ones, and especially when it's for free, they ask ourselves quite heavily, and we have to find out So what are the resources that are free? What are the resources we can move, or what are the right skills we have to put on the project? So we had to set up some kind of a demand management process where they put in their workflows, where they put in their functionalities that they need to get solved. And at least we struggled a little, I'd say, with some kind of an Excel sheet, putting like all the initiatives in there and quantifying them and getting a lot of data to move them through the process itself. So the process before was some kind of messy and there was no real process behind. It was all just put into an Excel sheet, and we built out something with Asana that Naida is going to show now.
So we're going to walk through this workflow, which is 4 different stages, basically. We're going to see how a new value creation request comes in, how it's getting prioritized with AI. Then we're going to go into the planning stage, which I would say is the most annoying stage for everyone who's planning resources, who's trying to manage resources. So we're using AI to set the area of expertise that is needed for this request. We're going to suggest the staffing based on the knowledge and also who's available during that time frame. And then we're going to bring in our teammate who will do some research on previous projects and to kind of support the preparation for this project. And then we're going to show you how you can actually manage all of these projects within Asana. So what we're seeing here is basically an intake project in Asana, which we call an inbox. So it's a living project which never ends. There's always new requests coming in and going through those different stages that I just mentioned. So it's going to be prioritized, there's going to be staffing, approval, before we move it into the execution. And where do these requests come from? Actually, we have defined a form. And a form is a great way to get new requests and streamline them to get all of the data that you actually need. So we have defined specific fields that every company that is requesting support has to fill out, such as what's their situation right now, what is the challenge that they have, what kind of support do they need, which in this case is support with an AI strategy for the next couple of years. And then they also have to give some more data about the time frame that they want to do the project in before we send this request out into the project. And then there's multiple things that are going to happen. So first of all, we are going to see that it's going to get prioritized. So we have to set the scene, which request is the most important, and we are going to summarize the request so we immediately know what's it about. So to make a decision on what's the priority here, we're using another Asana project where we have defined all of the priorities of the different companies that we're working with. So all of the data is already within Asana. It's just being pulled when needed from our workflows. So in this case, we're figuring out that this is a priority 2 request, and we have given it a certain name based on the corporate language, and then we're moving it into staffing. So staffing is actually, in my opinion, the most interesting part here, because in this step, we're going to define which area of expertise is needed, and also who is the best candidate to work on this project. So who can contribute to this project. There's a few things that AI has to do in this step, and we're going to show you how we set this up in the back end. So as you can see, I'm showing you right now that I've set up an AI rule with specific prompts, with specific access to different data points within Asana. So here we can see now that the AI has actually a few things to do here. It's going to decide who's the best candidate, what's the area of expertise, and how it does that is by me giving it access to the right data points and also giving it a concrete prompt. So first of all, what the AI will do, it will go and check who's the right person for this, like who has the expertise in the business value team to work on this project, who's an expert in AI strategy or AI governance. So based on that, we now know who has the area of expertise. And the next data point that we're going to use is the workload of the team. So we have access to the workload of the team, who is working on specific projects, and what projects they are working on. So based on the team workload, we can now look months into the future and actually see who will be available in Q1, in Q2, or the whole of next year to be able to create our project pipeline. So we are comparing that data, and based on that data, we're going to decide, or the AI is going to decide, who's the right person to support this request. So if we then check what has actually happened with our request, is we will see that the task has been assigned to specific people, and there's documentation on who was the best candidate, who's the best contributor, and also if we want to know more about that, behind every decision that the AI makes in Asana, we can see the reasoning. So everything is disparate. Every field that is changed is documented and explained. Where does it get the data from, and why has it made that decision? And in the next step, we also see that there's a few approvals created for everyone who will be part of that project. And there's a customized summary of everyone, what they need to know if they want to approve, request changes, ask for more information. So there's a couple of things that are also happening within this approval process. Not only are humans in the loop now and deciding if they have the time to actually work on this, I've also incorporated our research teammate to do some research on what has actually happened in the past with similar projects. So if we look at this, we can see that the teammate is actually supporting by looking through previous projects, successful or not successful, it doesn't matter, we learn from them all, and give suggestions on what could be the project structure for this specific project, and to just give summaries and infos about where they can look for that information. And this can go into much detail here to be as prepared as possible. So this used to be done manually by everyone before starting every project. So let me show you how the teammate and the agent actually does that within Asana. So an agent within Asana is actually pretty easy to create. We give it a name, we give it some guidance on behavior, and once we have that, we can give it some knowledge. So what does it need to know? Some key resources, and if we have done that, we can add them to all of the projects that we're working on. And based on our feedback, we can communicate with that teammate, we can mention that teammate, we can ask for information. It will memorize everything that we tell it, positive or negative, it will learn from it, and next time it will do better. So we can incorporate that teammate in every step of this process. What the teammate has done here has direct implication on what happens next. So right now, we are approving this request and moving it into the execution stage. So what happens now is actually that it's going to create a project and show us the project within the value creation portfolio. This is where Viessmann is managing all of their projects. So we can see the project pipeline, we can see the current projects with their status and everything that is currently happening. But what we will see next is that the requests that we have just moved into execution will now pop up with a specific project plan with all of the data that has come out of that request. So what we will do now is we will incorporate the teammate once more, because not every project is the same. We all know that. We cannot use project templates for everything. So what we will do now is we will ask that teammate to customize this project based on what the customer needs and what the customer wants. So we're using the teammate's research to optimize this. And by doing that, we give the teammate the option to completely revamp this project. So it's going to assign the tasks to the right people. It's going to rename the tasks, the milestones. It's going to create everything in full detail. Everything that used to be done manually by the team before they even could get to work on that project can now be supported by our teammate. So once this is done, we can see that all of the tasks have been assigned. And this has been done in communication with me. So I've given it feedback. Every time I have given it feedback, it learns from it, and the next project plan can even be better. So in this case, what we can do now is we can put this project in the pipeline, for example, for next year. And we have all of the specific projects created. And we can now see, since all of these tasks are assigned with the specific estimated times, this will then show again in our workload. So it's real-time data on how busy people are and how busy people will be in the next couple of months. And how we can show that as well is in our roadmap, for example, which is pretty important to executives, to management. So what is happening now, what is happening in the next few months. And one more thing that we're going to do in the end is to create a status update about all of this. So we all know status updates can be a headache. So we have the smart status option to create an update within 2 minutes. So it doesn't matter if it's on project level, on portfolio level, we can let AI draft that update. And this is what makes having the content in Asana so easy, because the AI can access it immediately. You don't have to feed it the content, go to another tool. The content is already there, and now it can do the work for you. So basically, we will get the status update, and we can post this. We can immediately share this with everyone. We can customize this, and we can send this out to management. So having those status meetings or multiple meetings using Excel sheets or anything to manage your reportings or execution could be a thing from the past. In this case, the VGG group is using portfolios to have an overview over all of the projects that are happening. And since we have seen now how it actually works, I would like to ask, how has the process changed since you have moved it into Asana?
Basically, I guess two things mainly changed on the process itself. So the one thing is we got transparency across all different initiatives that came in, and we are also like tracking afterwards. But what I also think is the approach on how we deliver projects has changed quite a lot, as we are providing structure, we are providing guidance to the people how they can leverage a tool to excel on their projects. Is something that has changed for us a lot. So when I look back to what we did in the Excel sheet before and where it is now, or what Naida brought in, so she already provided some more ideas to our process, at least. I think this will really help people to understand how to run a project, but also gives clear guidance on where is the management support needed, where does we need to invest, or where do we need to invest something more on the platform, on a portfolio company. And we didn't have this data before. And now it's all data driven, it's process driven. And also here that this would have taken months before the use of AI, and now it's like done in 1 or 2 days. And that's pretty cool.